Hello everyone, and welcome to another tutorial. This time there won't be any flying. This will only be about how to install the Kai-Tak scenery. Now, most of you will be familiar with Kai-Tak Airport, but for those who aren't, a very brief introduction. Now, Kai-Tak used to be Hong Kong main international airport from 1925 to 1998. Um, it was a fairly tricky airport, to say the least, probably one of the most challenging approaches in the world. So it had to be decommissioned in 1998, and it was relocated on another part of town. So this is the original one you can see here, and you can see why is this complicated, because it was built literally within the city. And while for the approach on runway 31, you were coming out from the ocean, so there was no problem over there. For the approach runway 13, things got a lot more complicated. There is a lot of terrain around the airport, and you couldn't come straight in, let's say, aligned with the runway, because there's lots of terrain over here. So the approach used to take you from this harbor over here over to the city, incredibly low, over the buildings here in the center of the city, and then turning on finally a very sharp turn to land. So that obviously was too dangerous. The airport couldn't be expanded. It had, of course, it was limited in size. So in 1998 it was decommissioned, and the new international airport was built on an artificial island over here, this part of the city. So, but it is one of the most iconic approaches ever in the world. So, unfortunately, Explain does not have this plane anymore because, well, it hasn't been there for 24 years now. But we can add it to the base scenery. Now, the problem there comes from the fact that the best scenery that was ever created was actually, well, it's the one you see here, dates back to 2015 and to the days of Explain 10. So there are problems with adding the navigational data, the nav data, so that you can have the approaches coded. So you need to have your nav 8 or IGS, there's an IGS and an ILS approach, and you need to manually add those onto the Explain database. But what happened is that because this was designed in 2015, the language of the database of Explain 10 has now changed since Explain 11, 11.50 and above. So you cannot use the data that this scenery gives you. Now, if you go online nowadays and you look for a Kai-Tak approach, you will find a couple of different options. So if you simply Google Explain 11 Kai-Tak, you will get a scenery from the 4th of July 2020, and then you get this other scenery from 27th of June 2015. Now you see there's a difference in the ICAO code. One is called VHH X-ray, and the other one is VHXX. Now, this is because the airport was actually called, when it was open, was actually called VHHH, or VHHH. When it was decommissioned, then because the ICAO code moved on to the new airport, well, they had to find a way to call the old decommissioned airport. So some people, the vast majority of people, call it only with one X at the end. But you will find it very often with 2x at the end. For the purposes of our exercise, it does matter because we're going to have to change a couple of things. Now, this from 2020 is this scenery over here. So you can see it here, posted, submitted on July 4th, 2020. If you don't want to have too much trouble, you can use this one. But compared to the one made in 2015, is eons apart. The quality is really different. Now, if you have a look at here, This is the one from 2015, and this is the one from 2020. As you can see, the level of details on the taxiways, the parkings, the gates is completely different. I mean, the level of the old one was absolutely incredible. It had custom taxiways, custom buildings. Everything was modeled true to real life. But that is not the only thing. The most important thing, the difference between the two, is not only aesthetic, but it's actually practical. Simply because the only way to perform this approach was thanks to leading lights. Okay, now I switched the view. This is the way you would be coming for that approach. Now, as you can see, these flashing lights are what they were used in real life to align yourself with the final turn. And without these, it's absolutely doable, but A, it's not really realistic, and B, it's a lot more difficult to just perform that approach. So the scenery from 2015, which is what I have installed here, has all of this. This is all custom buildings with the lights and all these flashing lights. They flash during well, at dawn until sunrise, but they're still there for guidance, and very importantly as well, if you want to do the other visual approaches, which is not this one, visual approaches coming from here, the middle of nowhere, you want to have the checkerboard. Now, the checkerboard was an original feature at the airports that we can see over here. Now, of course, this is a recent photo and it's faded, but there was a hill with these concrete walls where a checkerboard was drawn so that pilots would have a visual reference. And this is what has been created in this scenery, as you can see over here. So absolutely true to real life. So despite the fact that now it takes a little longer to install the scenery from 2015 and make it work, I would strongly recommend to do that. And I will show you how to. Now, before I forget, because I will forget later on, well, it all depends on what scenery you have around. I installed ortho scenery for all the area, and also I have X-Asia to generate the building, so it might look different depending of what you've created. Because of the way I made all the ortho scenery, over here, normally, if you take the option runway follow contours, which is in the general here, if you take the runway follows terrain contours, to me, because I haven't flattened it while making the ortho, this becomes an absolute, well, mess. Okay, it's impossible to land on it. So you can untick the runway follow terrain contours when flying into here to make sure it's flat. But there is a way, I believe there is a video from Simulation Channel Deluxe on how to flatten ortho. That's another topic. Now let's get into how to install the scenery and modify it to have all these beautiful things and make it work. Now, if you go here, you're gonna have to download the scenery. So you just click on download this file, download Kaitak with leading light version 1.1, download it, and that's it. I've already done it, and it's over here. So you can open that and simply copy this entire folder and then go and paste it into your custom scenery. So explain 11 custom scenery, and you just paste it there, and you can see that's what I have over here. Now, if that was it, it would be very easy. Now, at this point, as you can see, if you scroll down in the instructions, it tells you navigational aid. So in order to, you see, for those using AIRAC nav data cycle, so then the new AIRACs, the decommissioned Kaitak navigational aids must be restored. To do that, you place the following lines at the top of your explain custom data, earth nav data file. So these would be the lines, and you find them as it says here. I copied it above. Nav data can be found in Kitag with leading light. So if you go and open the scenery over here, and you open Kitag, inside you find this, add to earth nav data. So you open that, you copy and paste all these lines, and you add them to the earth nav data. Now the earth nav data can be found as it says here in explain 11, custom data, earth nav data. So all you have to do is open this file, go to the bottom, you scroll all the way down to the bottom, and after the last line, you would just enter what you copied. And that's it, and then you will save that. But as we said, these are no longer valid. Okay, if we look at these, we reopen them. Well, sorry, we can look at these. They are no longer valid. So what we have to do, we have to get this nav data and correct it. And we can do that from the new scenery. Now, the new scenery, the one from 2020, doesn't actually provide you with the nav data, which is a big overlook from the creator of the scenery, because then you cannot perform the ILS. You can't get to it. You can only fly visual. But somebody in the comments, so if you click the comments tab and you go down the comments, there is somebody here that has posted the Navigate information. So all you can do, you can actually use these. Now you can copy these and you can add them to the EarthNav data file. But stay with me. These data were created, the position of this Navigate were actually created for this airport. So they wouldn't be precise for the better airport from 2015. So we need to do something about it. Now, let's open a file that I've made. Now, I will explain you. These are the data that come from our downloaded scenery. So we had here Kitag, our archive. So this is what we downloaded from the website from the 2015. And here we had all this data. And that's what you can see here. We said that this doesn't work in Explain 11 because it was created for Explain 10. And the language of these navets, the way the navets were called, has been changed in Explain 11. The other data, the one that we find from the new 2020 scenery that we found in the comments, have the new language of Explain 11, but they're not correct. So this is the other ones. These are the new from the scenery 2020. It's 2020, and that's 2015. Okay, as we said, the position is not relevant because this was designed for the other airport. So what we need to do, very simply, is to merge these two. And that's what I've done here at the bottom. So I have taken what I've highlighted now in red is the things we're getting rid of, things that are not relevant. Okay, so what I've done, I've taken these black parts, okay, one by one, and I posted them at the bottom. As you can see, these coincide. So have a look. All these numbers are the same as these black parts, while this part at the end is the same as the 2020 scenery. Okay, so very simply, what you will be doing, we will be deleting everything that is here. There we go. Well, actually, the best way to do it, just to make sure, because I don't know if the number of spaces has any effect or anything. So it's just safer to just take this, making sure that it matches the correct one. This is 4, number 4 over here. And make sure you do not make confusion, because these are ordered in different ways. The old scenery had 4466, and this one is 4646. Okay, so just make sure you follow. But this page, make a screenshot of this page, and then you can follow exactly as you see here. Now, once we've amended everything, copy and pasted, and we have the correct nav data, then we can copy this nav data, go once again into explain, custom data, open earthnav.dat, go at the very bottom, and then add, as you can see, I have it here, add those few lines. And that's all you need to do, making sure, of course, that you delete all the spaces that you don't need. You join it together, leave one space before 99 there, and that's you. And that's you being able to use the IGS and the ILS approach. Now, if you've done everything correctly, let's make sure I don't save it just in case I got it wrong. I know it works. We'll keep it there. If you've done everything correctly, when you come into explain, you load up and you open the map. You go on to IFR, low en route. You will have these two. This is where our plane is. You will have these two approaches. If you don't create the data correctly, or if you don't create it at all, these two approaches will not be there. So that's the proof that you've done it correctly. Also, one last step, when you download the airport scenery, once again, let's open the scenery. Inside here, if you go into Kaitak, if you go on to EarthNav data, you have airport data over here. You need to open this, copy everything from here, eliminating this part, so you can simply delete that. Go to the first line where it says 1 and VHXX Kaitak. Copy everything from there to the bottom. You can just do Control A, copy everything. And then you're gonna have to go, now pay attention, gonna have to go into Explain 11, Resources, Default Scenery, Default Airport Data here, EarthNav data, and inside here you will find your Explain Airport data file. Without this, you will not be able to find the airport. Even though you put it in your custom scenery folder, Explain will not find the airport. So what you have to do, you have to open this file here in Explain. And I have it already opened because it takes a very long time. It's a huge file with, as you can see, 10 million lines. So it does take a while to open. That's why I pre-opened it. So what you do, you come at the very bottom of that file, you leave one extra space after whatever you have. Again, like the other file, you have a 99 that says that's the end of the file. You will have something before that. You leave an extra line, and here you copy everything you found inside the folder of the airport. So you go there, you copy, you go at the bottom, make sure there's a line before the 99. There's only one 99, just to be sure. See, by mistake, I clicked on resizing the window, and even resizing the window, because it's a gigantic file, takes absolutely ages. But anyway, you just need to wait, even if the window little wheel starts Turning, you do not do anything. Don't worry, leave it a few minutes. Sometimes it can take out to 2-3 minutes, and then it will come back to life. And once you have that, that's it. Then you save the file, and you can start flying into Kaitak. Remember, the odd thing, this scenery is called VHXX. But when you go into explain, so when you go into explain here, that's how you need to look for it. Okay, you're gonna have to do VHXX. But when you plan routes through SimBrief, the only way SimBrief will recognize it is gonna be by using VHHX. It doesn't really matter. So if you go here, let's see if I have one saved. There we go. So SimBrief will recognize it only as VHHX. You create your flight plan like that, and it's fine. Now, whether you will be able, how to say this, the fact that you will have the approach correct in the plane depends on the add-on you're using, and on the data stored inside of the aircraft you're using. For example, in TOLIS, it does recognize VHHX, so it gives you the full approach, and it knows where the runway threshold is. But in the ini-build, for example, it doesn't work for me. But that is not a problem, because the airplane will, even on the A310, it will fly you all the way down to the approach. The only little bit it will be missing is where the threshold is. So that's the only thing. But it doesn't matter. You get onto your approach, you activate your ILS, well, it's an IGS. You activate your approach, and you will follow that, and you will be able to do the landing. It will just be a problem for distance calculation and etc. But if you're flying the TOLIS, for example, it works. And other add-ons, and the Zibo as well, it works a charm. But be careful. Remember the difference. You're flying into VHHX for SimBrief, but you are flying into VHXX in explain. Okay. I hope it was okay. It was very difficult to explain. There's a lot going on. Luckily, it's a video. You can rewind and go back as many times as you need to try and make it work. And if you have any questions, I'm sure we will just post in the comments and let me know. But for now, thank you very much for watching, and enjoy the beautiful approach, possibly at sunset, into Kaitak. Thank you very much. Bye now.